my most excited player that is not getting talked about enough going into 2025? Spoiler alert, it's with a team that I talk about a lot. So if it's Auburn, sorry, folks, you're not going to hear anything from me. If it's Kentucky, sorry, folks, you're not going to hear anything from me. If it is Missouri, I think you know where this is going. It's going to be Kevin Coleman. So Kevin Coleman, for those of you that don't know, was one of the best wide receivers in the SEC last season. He was at Mississippi State. Before that, I believe he was at Jackson State. And then before that, he was at Louisville. So he bounced around a little bit in an offense that was headlined by supposed to be this new passing attack with Jeff Levy, with inconsistency at the quarterback position because of Blake Shapen gets hurt. And then you throw in, of course, Michael Van Buren as a freshman. Kevin Coleman was one of the best receivers in the SEC. 74 catches, 932 yards, 12.6 yards per attempt, 6 touchdown receptions. He had 5 plays of over 40 yards downfield. And now he's going to go to an offense that knows how to cater to wide receivers. Don't believe me? Well, one wide receiver by the name of Luther Burden won an All-American when he was playing underneath Kirby Moore. And Theo Wease was the most complimentary number 2 that you could ask for in the SEC. And now he gets to go join that unit. This is going to be, I think, a breakout year. Kevin Coleman took over games in 2024. 6 catches, 118 yards against Ole Miss. 8 catches, 100 yards against Arkansas. 8 catches, 90 yards against Texas A&M. 8 catches, 103 yards. 12.9 yards a play against Georgia. 7 catches for 77 yards against Toledo. 4 catches, 103 yards against Arizona State. The dude in the biggest games for Mississippi State last year was the Mr. Consistent Playmaker. And now he's going to be working with another quarterback that we don't know a lot about in Bo Pabula. They're going to have a good ground game with Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts. But who is your number 2? Who do you feel like is that guy right now in Missouri? Is there a guy right now? Is it Marquise Johnson? Is it Brett Norfleet at tight end? Is it one of the up-and-coming wide receivers? Is it somebody that we haven't talked about enough from last season? Is it Joshua Manning? I can tell you right now that one of them is going to have to break out because if not, Kevin Coleman's just going to be hitting the stride and being literally the GOAT of the SEC. But even if not, when you're able to get that trust in a quarterback, which is so prevalent these days, to be able to have that X factor of, no, dude, I got your back. Just throw it up there. I'm coming down with it. That could be something that changes the game. And then I've already talked about Missouri's schedule. Missouri is lucky with how their schedule bowed out next year. Start off the season against Central Arkansas, Kansas, which we are going to respect Kansas because Kansas is a good team. And that is the very last thing that Lance Leipold wants you to do, ladies and gentlemen. Think that the SEC is too good for little old Kansas. And then they march on into Farote and they kick your ass to oblivion. So we're going to respect them. Louisiana, and then they play South Carolina. South Carolina early in the season with a new offensive line, with some new weapons that they're adding in at wide receiver, some young guys that they're trying to catch up to speed, you may catch them slipping. I'm not saying it will happen, but you may catch them slipping. It's a brand new secondary too. That's a game where you're saying, hey, Kevin Coleman, go on off. Bye week, then you go ahead and you welcome in Alabama. UMass, then bye week, then you welcome in Alabama. Travel afterwards for the first time in October 18th. Back-to-back weekends to Jordan-Hare and the First Bank Stadium to face off against Vanderbilt. Bye week, close out your year with 2 games at home, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, on the road against Oklahoma, on the road against Arkansas. That could be in a span of, 7 games? We talk about Kevin Coleman as leading the SEC in receptions, leading the SEC in receiving yards per game, yards per contest. And he may end up having only 6 touchdowns. But that's not the stat I'm looking for. I'm looking at who can be that X factor every single play for a quarterback to go, I got you. I'm coming down with it. Don't even worry about who's on the outside beside me. I'm winning this battle one-on-one. And if that happens, Missouri's in the running like they are. People want to doubt Missouri because of, again, they're a flawed team. If you told me that when you look at the Missouri team last year, if they were a 10-win roster, there'll be people that say, oh, well, that was the worst 10-win team in college football. You got to 10 wins. There are no bad teams that get to 10 wins. It was maybe an overrated in terms of, yeah, they would have lost in the first round of the college football playoff. But if you get to 10 wins, you have stability. If Missouri does it again this year, and let's just say they don't lose to South Carolina, like they almost did last year. Or let's just say they beat Alabama or they beat Texas A&M, and then they lose those 2 games, the ones that they already lost. So then they beat Oklahoma in sporadic fashion. They go crazy against Arkansas, and they're 10-2. 10-2 is getting you in the playoffs in the SEC. It's a guaranteed common threat. It's not slowing down. And you may end up thinking, oh, well, here we have this guy to thank, Kevin Coleman. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just beginning on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because FanDuel is your home for NBA live betting. Even if you miss the first few minutes of a game or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can make your picks from the first whistle until the final buzzer. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join. New FanDuel customers get started with $150 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet win. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Disclaimer: must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, and 18 plus in DC. First online real money wagers only. $5 first deposit is required. A bonus issues with non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. All right, back to the show. He reminds me a lot right now when we're talking about the transfer portal realm of players that aren't getting enough praise, like Matthew Golden. So Matthew Golden last year comes on into Texas. Nobody really has any idea what he's going to be besides special teams. Everyone's loving Isaiah Bond. They're hearing about this kid from Corvallis, Oregon that's going to have lightning in a bottle speed. They have this guy, Jonte Cook, that's supposed to be the #1. Ryan Wingo's a 5-star. We love him. And it's like, oh, you. Yeah, cool. Be wide receiver 3, I guess. And he ends up leading Texas to multiple wins, security blanket for Quinn Ewers, and eventually is so good that now we're talking about him as a day 1 prospect in the NFL draft in April. Can that not be Kevin Coleman? Could it not? Because he's already shown you in the SEC, I'm good enough to win multiple games. I'm good enough to be that X factor #1 receiver. I've got the speed. I've got the physicality. I've got all the tools needed in my belt to be able to win battles against cornerbacks. I can find my way into the end zone. I'm playing for a better team than Mississippi State. I'm playing an easier schedule for a team. And also, if I end up building this rapport with Bo Pabula throughout spring practice, who's to say that by week 1, I'm not putting up monster video game numbers to where everyone's like, hey, who was this Kevin Coleman kid? Well, just remind yourself, ladies and gentlemen, Cole Thompson here told you about Kevin Coleman. He's a freak. He was a superstar. He was my top receiver in the regular season for the SEC in the SEC Unfiltered Award Show, which we are still keeping around. You're going to see him have that same type of success next year. I promise you. This kid has all the intangibles, what you want a wide receiver 1. And he may be a reason why Missouri, who I am very high on, I know my MIZ Nation, I know you love me, reason why we are talking about Missouri punching their ticket to a 12-team college football playoff. I'm just saying, crazier things have happened. We watched as SMU in year 1 of the ACC went to the playoff.